Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I am so thrilled you're here because today we're diving into a topic that is literally everywhere right now. Honestly, if you've spent any time at all scrolling online or just walked down a supplement aisle recently, you have definitely seen it. Ashwagandha. But with so many wildly contrasting claims out there, it is time we finally separate the hard medical facts from the internet fiction. So, here is the big question driving our explainer today. Is this ancient root truly the ultimate cure for our modern epidemic of stress, anxiety, and sleeplessness? Or are we just looking at the latest wellness trend propped up by some seriously clever marketing hype? Well, we're going to look strictly at what the science actually says. All right, here's our roadmap for today. 1. Decoding the ashwagandha hype. 2. Mechanisms of the HPA axis. 3. Evaluating the scientific evidence. 4. Supplementation versus sleep hygiene. And 5. Best practices and safety. Let's get right into it. Part 1. Decoding the ashwagandha hype, from ancient Ayurveda to modern trends. So what exactly is this stuff? Ashwagandha comes from the roots of a low-growing nightshade shrub that's native to India and Southeast Asia. Fun fact, the Sanskrit word literally translates to horse smell. Yeah, I know, it doesn't sound super appetizing, right? But it actually refers to both the strong, earthy scent of the root and this traditional belief that taking it gives you the strength and vitality of a stallion. It's been a massive cornerstone of Ayurvedic medicine for over 3,000 years, mainly used as an adaptogen and rejuvenative tonic. And that incredibly long history perfectly explains why it's totally exploded in modern popularity. The list of claimed benefits is vast. You've got traditional practitioners and modern wellness brands alike pushing it for everything you can think of. Severe stress and anxiety relief, way better sleep quality, enhanced muscle strength, boosted VO2 max, libido restoration, and even relief from perimenopausal symptoms. It's basically pitched as the ultimate catch-all for modern burnout. Moving on to part 2, mechanisms. Let's translate some complex endocrinology and look at the HPA axis. Okay, so how is this root actually doing all of this inside your body? It all comes down to these specific compounds called withanolides. Think of them as the secret engine behind the herb's power. It's kind of like how caffeine is the active driver in your morning coffee. Well, withanolides, especially one known as withaferin A, are the bioactive steroidal compounds inside the plant that cross into your system and actually trigger those physiological changes. And those withanolides are believed to interact directly with something called the HPA axis. That stands for the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. To put it simply, think of this as your body's central alarm system. Whenever you get stressed out, this network lights up and communicates to release cortisol, which is exactly what keeps your body on that jittery, high alert state. Here is the exact step-by-step clinical mechanism of how ashwagandha theoretically steps in to help. First up, it increases GABA activity in your brain. GABA essentially acts like a brake pedal for your nervous system, giving you this nice calming effect. Second, it modulates that HPA axis we were just talking about, which helps soothe your overall stress response. And finally, by doing all of that, it physically lowers the serum levels of cortisol floating around in your blood. Less cortisol equals way less physical tension. All right, part 3, evaluating the scientific evidence. Let's see what the latest meta-analyses actually reveal. Now, when we really dig into the hard clinical data, a super crucial and honestly kind of conflicting pattern pops up when it comes to dosing. For instance, a massive +1 meta-analysis found that if you're targeting sleep and insomnia, you actually need a higher dose. We're talking 600 milligrams or more per day to see a significant improvement. But flip over to a Science Direct analysis of almost 1,400 adults, and they found that for reducing stress and anxiety, the absolute best benefits happened at lower doses of 500 milligrams or less. So basically, your specific goal completely dictates your dose. Listen though, regardless of whether you are trying to fix your sleep or calm your anxiety, there is one magic number that just kept appearing across all the scientific literature: 8. 8 weeks is the consistent duration you need in these clinical trials to start seeing the most significant measurable improvements. So no, it is definitely not an overnight prick fix. You really have to stick with it. Which brings us to part 4, supplementation versus sleep hygiene. Time for a reality check. Okay, here is an absolutely vital concept we have to grasp. Taking a pill cannot outwork a terrible lifestyle foundation. On one hand, you have ashwagandha, which the science does show provides some minor incremental cortisol reduction and GABA support. But on the other hand, you have fundamental sleep hygiene. We're talking about aligning your circadian rhythms, managing your room temperature, controlling your light exposure. That lifestyle foundation, that is always going to be doing the heavy lifting for your health. And medical professionals completely agree on this. Take Dr. Ashley Hilton, for example. She points out that ashwagandha pales in comparison to sleep hygiene. It's a nice incremental gain, but not the be-all, end-all. And she hit the nail on the head there. Supplements are exactly that, supplementary. They are really just meant to be the finishing touch on a routine that you've already made healthy. Let's wrap things up with part 5, best practices and safety, a quick consumer's guide. So let's say you've dialed in your sleep hygiene and you do decide to try this supplement out. Here is your exact consumer checklist for finding a high-quality product. First, check the back of the label to verify it has a concentration of 10 to 30 milligrams of withanolines per dose. You also want to look for standardized extracts. KSM 66 is a really common, reliable one. Always demand rigorous third-party testing to make sure you're getting what you pay for. And here's a super interesting tip. Consider taking your dose in the morning. Taking it at night can actually shift your metabolic activity, and that causes some people to wake up feeling way too hot in the middle of the night. Now, we absolutely have to look at the potential risks here, because just because something is natural definitely doesn't mean it's risk-free. Looking at the NCBI's liver tox database, there are a few things to note. Gastrointestinal upset, like a minor stomachache or diarrhea, is pretty common if you take really large doses. Endocrinologically speaking, it can actually worsen hyperthyroidism by increasing your metabolic activity. But the most concerning risk, even though it's rare, is hepatic. We're talking liver injury, which typically shows up about 2 to 12 weeks after you start taking the supplement. To be absolutely clear on this, liver injury from ashwagandha is extremely rare. However, there have been fatal cases requiring emergent liver transplants, and this is particularly true for patients who already had pre-existing liver disease. So if you have any pre-existing conditions at all, or if you are currently taking other medications, you absolutely must consult your doctor before you even think about adding this to your daily routine. Which leaves us with this final, really important thought. Ashwagandha has some incredibly fascinating clinical backing as an adaptogen. It really can help lower stress and improve your sleep. But before you rush out to buy a bottle, you need to ask yourself, is your foundation strong enough? Are you actually sleeping properly? Are you managing your light exposure? And are you eating well? Fix that foundation first, and then let the science of supplementation do the rest. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this helped you decode the hype and understand the actual science behind ashwagandha.